the 13th of July 2022. Hope everybody's doing good on this Wednesday, except for the nuclear industry, of course. The kooky, perpetual lying nuclear industry. What a strange, just bizarre industry the nuclear turned out to be. Yeah, nuclear. If you actually dig into nuclear, every facet of it is a cover. Like the IAEA, they're not regulatory agencies at all. They're demonic, sadistic, twisted demons. On a good day, on a bad day, they're incredible monsters. Well, I see Tepco is getting a refund of $95 billion from 4 executives. I don't think they got $95 billion amongst them, to tell you the truth. We covered a show last night of an academic study claiming that nuclear's impact is 20% of coal, 23% of oil, and 35% of natural gas. Nothing could be further from the truth, my goodness. And that's the problem with nuclear. It doesn't know how to open its mouth without lying. It's incapable of having a conversation like the normal industries. We got 6 people on the show, 5 thumbs up. After a decade of hard work, there's my reward. Is it actually safe to live and raise a family within 10 miles of a dirty nuclear power plant? Dana Nasana says that the hounds know, but does anybody else? Which is a really good point. Because the hounds are the people that are following Fukushima. We got 100% votes of saying no, it's not safe to live within 10 miles of a dirty, despicable, disgusting nuclear power plant. And the majority of them are also surrounded by farms, so it's not even safe to go to your supermarkets anymore. Japan made sure of that, right? We covered this a couple of days ago. We were the first ones, but it looks like to cover it. Now it's pretty well gone viral. Not me, of course, but the story. A PSA on a nuclear attack. This was a video by the New York authorities to instruct how many people live in New York again? 6 million, 10 million people? To instruct them on what to do in case of a nuclear attack. And the New Yorkers, of course, they're besieged by crimes because you're not allowed to have a gun down there, just the criminals. And they're baffled by any, why didn't Boston do it? Why didn't all the other major cities do the same thing at the same time? Just more like New York is the supreme fear-mongering, the government agencies. New Hampshire. My apologies to anybody from New Hampshire. New Hampshire, not New Hamster, Dana. New Hampshire nuclear power plant siren goes off mistakenly, scaring the bejesus out of beachgoers. It was actually a lot more to it than that, folks. Attention, there is a problem at the Seabrook Now, first off, for the sirens to go off, there's a huge chain of commands. This is just simply not just pushing a button. It doesn't work that way. A whole lot of people got to sign off on it before you can actually... So it's designed never to use the siren. Even if they have a nuclear meltdown, they're not going to use the siren for sure. we established this a very long time ago. New Hampshire Homeland Security. The Homeland Security are not law enforcement. They don't have law enforcement benefits or pensions. They can't arrest you. They have to call the police. They get their authority from administration, not legislation. Most of them were hired from advertisements on pizza boxes and coffee cups. Try wrapping your mind around that. And then they call them Homeland Security. They're Stotzies at best. Said there's no emergency, no danger to the public. The warning, and I'll play it for you, says, attention, attention, it's a problem at a nuclear power station. There's only one problem at a nuclear power station that would, it's a radioactive release. The beaches are closed. Leave the beach areas at once. Turn on your radio, slaves, and wait to be told what to do like a good slave. The last people, unfortunately, that you want to be trusting is your radio or your TV station. Truly the last group of monsters on the planet, real monsters, are your medias and your universities. So there was a recording made on somebody's security camera. And I'll play that for you. I'll adjust the volume in real time here.
Attention. There is a problem at Seabrook Nuclear Power Station. The beaches are closed. Leave the beach area at once and turn on your radio for information.
So does that sound like a pre-recorded message to anybody? Because it sure doesn't to me. That was somebody in real time. And he also used the sirens. Once again, there's a huge chain of commands before those sirens are turned on. Remember the Darlington nuclear power plant last year sent out 6 million text messages at 7 a.m. in the morning on a Sunday morning, most people's day off. And it was total pandemonium. And it came out that the chain of command is amazing before something like that can happen. And so heads were going to roll. Next Era Energy Resources owns it, or runs it, I guess. We are aware of the sirens calling for an evacuation near Seabrook. A spokesperson from the plant. That's the last creature on the planet you want to be trusting. The sirens activation was sent in error. Well, you can't send these things in error. There's too many people in the way. It has to be a real release. There's no way to accidentally set these things off. Nobody's going to tip over their coffee cup and make a bad move and press a button, okay? You got to have clearance to sign in to the computer that's going to do it on top of that. There's probably 5 people in the chain of command before you can actually set the siren off. And then to have that message, that was on the spot. That wasn't a pre-recorded message, a scripted message. They were stuttering, for God's sakes. The industry refuses to acknowledge that anybody on the planet has ever been hurt by radiation from a nuclear power plant. And I'm not kidding you. Officially, they refuse to acknowledge it. They refuse to acknowledge anybody was hurt by Fukushima, multiple nuclear reactor meltdowns, for goodness sakes. Said more information would be released as it becomes available. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I totally can see that happening, said nobody on the planet. And Seabrook police said they are investigating, but so far Neither has released any more information. First off, the police don't have jurisdiction at a nuclear power plant. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission does. It's not illegal to poison you with radiation. Congress and Parliament worldwide doesn't have the authority to make it an illegal. It's not illegal. Only the Nuclear Regulatory Agency has that authority, and there's zero possibility that they're going to do that. Zero. It's absolutely zero. So I got in my car and drove north to avoid driving past Seabrook, said one of the victims, who was expected a massive traffic jam. That's another thing, right? Nuclear power plants have to be able to provide a way for you to evacuate your cities because it's so safe, right? People are insane. People are actually insane that they allow nuclear power plants to exist. That's the definition of insane. The plant is 40 miles north of Boston, 10 miles south of Portsmouth. It said there was 17 New Hampshire towns within the 10-mile emergency planning zone and 6 Massachusetts towns within the 10-mile zone. And so the poll today was really straightforward. Is it safe, actually safe, to live and raise a family within 10 miles of a despicable, disgusting nuclear power plant? And the answer is no, it's not safe. All the fuel pools are constantly hemorrhaging radiation. There's 6 times more breast cancer within 15 miles of a nuclear power plant. So not only is it not safe within 10 miles, it's not safe within 15 miles. But if it went out to 50 miles, you would see an explosion of heart problems and liver and lung and respiratory and pituitary and thyroid and adrenaline glands and Alzheimer's and dementia and autism and diabetes and Down syndrome. Yeah, that's right. It's not just cancer like they lead you to believe. It's 1,800 illnesses. Comment section was pretty fun. You know what happens when you cry wolf? Because that's 3 times in the last 2 weeks we've seen these old, decrepit nuclear power plants, sirens accidentally going off when there's a huge chain of command before that can happen. Another commenter said, it's a good thing these guys are not running a nuclear power plant. Wait, they're running a nuclear power plant. Sirens were inadvertently activated New Hampshire plant. Inadvertently. But there's no information. They're not releasing any information of what happened or why that happened. Why don't they just come out and say, it was a silly mistake, our apologies. We fired everybody in the chain of command and we'll make sure it never happens again. Or why don't they just come out and say, we apologize, it accidentally happened. Why not show some sign of good faith, right? Because something happens, see? It's this industry has no right to exist, folks. New Hampshire Homeland Security. Every time I hear the word Homeland Security, it just hangs my head in shame. Said Tuesday there was a siren was inadvertently activated. Oh yeah, just randomly activated, was it? There's no emergency, no danger to the public. It's the complete opposite. You can't accidentally inadvertently set off one of these sirens. People panicked, which is what you're supposed to do. That's why you got all these sirens. A typical plant has 100 sirens within 10 miles because it's not safe. They were put there by activists, forced them through legislation to put them there, but then the industry made sure they would never get used in a real event. False alarm triggered at Seabrook nuclear power plant. What to know? Well, we already know that the people that are apologizing for the industry are not humans like me or you. According to the Non-Regulatory Commission, there is no problem at the nuclear power plant. The verbal alarm broadcast Tuesday morning was inadvertent. Yet the siren was inadvertent, the public broadcast was inadvertent, and the public broadcast over loudspeakers, it wasn't scripted. I played it for you already. That's not scripted. So that was real time. Somebody done the right thing, and then the nuclear industry freaked out. So when you got a senior public affairs officer at the NRC, the Non-Regulatory Commission, who refuses to make it illegal to poison you with radiation. Because if it was illegal to poison you with radiation, they couldn't use it in hospitals or anywhere else, could they? They couldn't use it in smoke detectors, see? The industry is evil. It's evil. It has to go. And the world needs to gut up and do the moral and ethical thing. The verbal alarm. The Sirens activation was sent in error. The verbal alarm was sent in error. The sun rose in error. The moon is in the sky is in error. The verbal alarm. The local useful idiots have told the public there's no need to evacuate. We apologize for this huge chain of command breakdown. According to a number of police departments who don't know jack shit about nuclear, they were receiving hundreds of calls from concerned residents and visitors. The verbal alert that went over Next Era Energy Seabrook nuclear power plant PA system this morning was in real time. It wasn't scripted. They were shook. You can hear it in their voice. New Hampshire Homeland Security Emergency Management has been notified. Why would you notify Homeland Security, for God's sakes? That an inadvertent siren activation happened earlier today. More on that. Now, there was another incident coming up in Scotland, I think it was, yesterday. The hot weather hitting Europe this week is set to reduce nuclear power, which has already happened today. This was a yesterday story. And France's fleet of decrepit old reactors, brittle reactors, were all built at the one time by the government. So it's amazing that any of them actually worked. And half of them now are shut down because of a serious flaw that they covered up for a couple of decades. And have now come back to haunt them. But what it meant was there was huge amounts of radiation being released, and they hid it away for decades. It's such a stupid industry, but it's such an evil industry. Heat wave. And 70% of France's fresh water goes to nuclear, for goodness sakes. It's another blow to the lunatics in France, whose 56 reactors are vital to Europe's power supplies, are already operating at half their capacity. So it's very confusing when they say it that way, right? What they're supposed to say is half the reactors are broken down and are not working. So but the way they said it there, are they running at half capacity, or what's going on here, right? That was a really interesting, deceptive paragraph. Look at it. Under France's rules. Yeah, really? France got rules? Try telling that to the French Polynesians or Niger or the people in the Sahara Desert. EDF must reduce or halt nuclear output when the river temperatures reaches a certain threshold. to ensure the water used to cool the plants won't harm the environment. There's probably not a single fish in any of the rivers there because of decades of pollution from these disgusting idiot machines on our planet. These disease factories. The only way you can describe nuclear power plant is, the proper way is as a disease factory. It's simply, it attacks all species, attacks everything with replicating cells. German official, nuclear would do little to solve gas issues. We're going to give Kevin Blanche a call here in a minute, so I don't forget. Kevin's on the beaches, and we'll pick up the story. Nuclear would do little to solve the gas issues. Kevin's got some videos up, or this one came out. I'll play some of them while I got him on the phone. Let's give him a call and see if we can get him on the phone right now while I'm thinking about it. And that'll give him, if not, then that'll give him a chance to get ready so I can call him back. And what I mean by that, maybe his phone is not charged up enough or something, and he might be able to charge it and still get him in on the show. Here we go. Come on, Kevin, pick up the phone.
Hello.
Hi, Kevin. It's Dana Durnford, nuclearproctologist.org calling. How you doing, buddy? Are you busy?
Good. I gotta tell you this. When you're, this is the first time I've ever seen this. When your call came up, you know what it said?
No, spam?
Scam likely.
Wow.
Scam likely.
Holy
I've
shit.
never seen that on your calls before. You've called me lots of times.
Bastards, eh?
Yeah, unbelievable, right? The hits keep on coming.
Have you got a few minutes you can share with us?
Yeah.
I got your videos. I'm going to play them while you're talking in the background. So this is day 2. We got a big moon tonight. So the biggest moon is tonight, I think. Is it, Kevin?
Right now. Yeah, tonight.
Yeah.
You know, so low tide, I got up at 4 a.m. in the low tide, and I never seen it so low, and she was so bright, it's beaming, you know, it's the buck moon, and it's a super moon. But I was out there, that was pretty low for summertime tide there. We get lower ones in winter, but those are good videos today. We got up there right at low tide. We're coming home now. So it's a good look.
Yeah, I got your videos. I got your videos playing in the background. And I can see myself, there's nothing there. I think in the last video you posted, you seen 3 starving seagulls, you were saying.
3 seagulls and 3 pelicans at Point Loma. I mean, hello.
Yeah.
No candlesticks, you know, no shore. I mean,
you got perfect visibility.
Oh, yeah, beautiful visibility.
And
I mean, afternoon sunlight, clear water.
So, what time is it now where you two, Kevin?
What time is it right now, Peter? 5:56. It's 5:55.
So you just came back from the tide pools, I guess, did you?
Yeah, we're driving home. Well, you know my home. You know where my home is.
Yeah, beach.
On the beach with my sleeping bag. Yeah, we're driving to my home. You know what that is? My roommate's an asshole. Yeah, Peter.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, but I ain't staying with that guy. I'll kick his ass. I don't want to go to jail for beating him to drunk prick up. And by the way, people in Southern California are so uptight assholes anymore right now. Used to be the nicest people in the world down here. Everybody's so uptight.
I think it's a lot of stress going on the last couple of years.
That's what it is.
So what's your tally today? Did you see any species at all?
So, and I've been in that tide pool, and so is almost. Anyway, Peter and I were both talking, and you know, he went to Point Loma High School. He grew up right there, and we both agreed that this is the deadest we've ever seen it in this, you know, post Fukushima area. Well, before, you know, I couldn't believe it. We didn't find nothing, no fish, no particles, no sea anemones, no nothing.
Wow.
I mean, it's a wipeout.
There's no color.
None. And you're talking, it's been closed for 2 years. That's the first low tide videos. And
right.
those are good videos.
And because you were saying a few days back when we were talking about this that there's no excuses for people walking on it and killing it because it's been closed for a couple of years.
Right. So it's been a big debate down there for years and years and years on people, because it's a big tourist trap to go to Point Loma. You know, and they cost $20 a head to go in that thing. And it's, you know, it's just jammed all the time. It's a big tourism thing. So half of it's closed. Of course, I've been in the closed half, but it's been closed for 15 years. They're trying to document it. So it's been, you know, heavily debated. Is it foot traffic, you know, doing damage to this? It's been closed for 2.5 years. So just recently.
Wow.
And it's ocean conditions, you know, and so, and people here, you're talking to people now, and, you know, at least they're a little bit out of denial. They don't, when you mention Fukushima or they mention Fukushima, you don't look like you got 3 eyeballs. People are bringing it up to me. People are coming up to me and saying, well, you know, because it's so, I mean, they cute collapse, but we're talking Point Loma tide pools. You're talking one of the most famous tide pools on Earth. And, I mean, really famous tide pool. And it's just completely wiped out.
And you would expect to see, you know, like hundreds of those little tawny birds that live right on the edge of the water, feeding all the time.
Yeah, all the shorebird species, the candlesticks, you know, which a candlestick is a shorebird. They're named after their beak. And there's dozens of different species in California. Teeny ones to big ones, you know, the sandpipers, the kildares, you know, the sandpiper. I haven't seen one in 2 days, not one.
I know, and we're playing your videos as you're talking. There's nothing in your videos whatsoever. It's just the one I'm playing now is the wharf, the big wharf at low tide. And when you pan around, there's no birds, there's no nothing. So tomorrow is the biggest tide, I guess, because the full moon is tonight, right?
Yeah.
And so you probably get another 4 or 5 inches or something lower on the tide.
Right. And I'll get the last place I found any big nice ochre starfish was on the Crystal Pier, so I'll get videos of that tomorrow, and I'll get PB Point, which is a famous tide pool that I grew up on that I've heavily documented. I'll get that one taken care of tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, because you're doing different spots each day, basically.
Now, I wanted to get Point Loma done. I concentrated on the last 2 days because it's been closed for 2.5 years. You know, I can't catch that, you know, closed for a historical document, the first full moon cycle that we've got in since it's been reopened. So, you know, that's why this whole trip was so important to get out there. It's an historical video, real historical video.
Yeah, it is so.
You'll need to back it up.
They just opened it up.
Just opened it. They opened it up about a month and a half ago, but the first low tide the low tide cycle was dark, you know. So
right.
And they don't. It's only open from 9:30 to 4:30. They won't let you in.
Well, this time of the year, you expect to see all the little baby starfish and little baby whelks and snails and mollusks and sea urchins. Yeah.
This in the summertime is when the upper purple urchins just flourish like carpet.
That's
and
right.
So do the sea anemones. This is the time of year that they just thrive.
Yeah, I used to pick.
And the mussels.
I used to pick 20,000 sea urchins each day as a diver.
Yeah.
I worked at all kinds of construction too, right? But when I look at the beaches, your videos I'm playing now, there's nothing there. There's no color. There's a couple of seagulls, but I mean that's so absurd.
There should be hundreds of seagulls there. I mean, it's Point Loma, and so the Upper California purple urchins out there at Point Loma is like carpet, you know. But they've been gone since 2012, and nothing, not a one. I mean, and then the sea anemones. You know, I've got videos of some sickly sea anemones here and there. We didn't even find any sea anemones.
No.
Not even sick ones.
Because a few years back, I was finding some green ones, but there's 84 species of sea anemones in California, and I didn't, you know,
the big flora sea anemone, which is the big flora that Doc Ricketts named. Me and my grandsons found one pool in 10 years of some big flowering floras, sea anemones, in 10 years. And
that's
like
horrifying.
I said, they're famous in California.
Yeah.
We were just talking. You think about the low tide I've got. I mean, some of the low tide videos that I've got at St. Peter are so historic and so incredible. I worked so hard at it, and I got so lucky on so many tide pools up and down the California. I got historic, incredible low tides that just blow your mind. And the videos, I have it in a playlist, and you know, it is what it is. Rents used to put them up, and they used. I mean, one of those videos has 120,000 views. I mean, they got attention in the day. Of course, that's when before Google did whatever they did. I call it internet Kathleen, and so nobody even gets to see them. But at least I'm doing the work. You know, I'm just doing it and
you know,
putting it out there.
You got a video where you got all these pockets in the rocks. They would normally be full of sea urchins, those pockets.
Just hundreds, thousands of them.
Yeah, it would be. Because I used to harvest them.
In California, you know, we don't get the red ones and the black ones per se like in other places. We get purple. And it's like purple carpet. You know, the purple urchin, there's nothing more California than that. California purple urchin. Nothing more California. Organically native. And there aren't any upper purple urchin. Yeah, people say, well, we find some diving. I'm all, what we do? What you find diving? You know, 1/10 of 1%, what you should be. The upper tide pools at low tide are the canary. They will tell you everything about the ocean. And I know that. I've always known that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it really will tell you.
Well, that was the nursery. That was the nursery of the Pacific Ocean, was the upper tide pools.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
There used to be 700 algae.
Boy, growing up in PB, and I'm in first or second grade. And we had this brilliant teacher, and she printed out this, well, made this thing. This is in 1965. And she printed out this thing with this blank piece of like crayon thing that you crayon, gave us all crayons, and she marked us from the elementary school to PB Point and stood us up on top, and she was a genius. And she says, I want you kids to color every color that you see, and she had starfish, she had seen every color. She was that genius. I think I was in 1966. And I remember that like yesterday, and it was just like a French Stella painting. It was just color, and all us kids were just like, whoa, because it was low tide. And we just stood up there on top. We didn't get down in the pools. And I remember she told us, all you have to do is look down at a tide pool and just see how much color is. And that will tell you the entire health of our environment. I remember her telling us that. And it stuck with me. And she was right.
Oh, 100%.
And that's it. You don't have to be a marine biologist or some muck guru or have a nuclear physics degree, which I do, by the way. But you just a normal human being at low tide, standing above, looking down.
Yeah, the species were amazing. It used to be amazing pre-Fukushima.
Yeah.
That's what made it. That's why people went there, right? Because it was amazing.
Yeah, people went to tide, and they advertise these tide pools at Point Loma all over the internet, and there's thousands of people from all over the world there every day. And I tell everybody, somebody needs to sue. Lots of Japanese. I talked to multiple Japanese people in the last 2 days, and we talked Fukushima, we talked Ebi, and they're all over it. But the thing that is, it's a bait and switch. They're advertising, come see the CNNs. It's fraud because they know it's been collapsed for 10 years, yet they're still saying. And so people travel from all the world to see the famous tide pool, and it's $20 a head to go in, and literally thousands of people a day. There was a little kid today. Peter says, "Did you hear what he just said?" There's a little kid today, and he's like, "Mom, there's nothing here." And she's like, no, there isn't. He says, no, there's not.
Wow.
Yeah,
well, like, if there's no color there, that tells the story.
that's it. You don't have to be
No.
any. You're just a human being with eyeballs.
There should be roughly 7,500 species in the tidal pools, and Kevin is there at the biggest moon of the year. This is the biggest moon of the entire year tonight.
It's the most famous tide pool in California.
On top of that, but there should be around 7,500 visible species in those tidal pools, Kevin.
I was talking to a woman, and because her son was out there, and I recognized it. Says, you play for San Diego State? Yeah, you know. And her mom knew her shit from Orange, and we started talking, and she knew her shit. And she says, "Yeah, you're right, Kevin. They collapsed in 2012, you know, up at Laguna. And we were talking about the tide pools there. She says, I found 4 colored orcas in the last year, and she's looking at them constantly. I says, yeah, well, there should be 40,000. And she says, no, that's right. And I mean, and people are okay with this. And people are going to say, oh, remember when in 2012, Dana, it was just wasting disease?
Yeah.
In 2012, that's all. Okay, we're going to go along with this bullshit narrative and just go into denial?
There's
70 species of starfish in California alone.
And each species is multiple colors on top of it, very vibrant colors. Yeah. But the pictures...
The starfish are stripes, the white with the red stripes, the purple, the orange, and then they have dots. They have, I mean, they're spectacular. Every one of these species is a different color, and they're great, big beasts. You know, and when they're all gone, you know, a guy told me today that he found a big oranges plastered on the Star of India over there in the harbor. He recognized me in the tide pool. He was going surfing this morning. Splash, I want to talk to you. I'm like, God, I got to go over there and look at it. And he's like, I says, you found one? And he says, yeah. And he says, so rare and so odd. And I says, yeah, they're, you know.
The last couple of years out in British Columbia, whenever I found a starfish, it was full of tumors.
Yeah. Yep.
It was completely deformed, full of big tumors.
I remember in 2013 when I was working tide pools in 2013, because I didn't work tide pools in 2012 because I was in a bone marrow transplant. And but when I got out and started first working, I remember being in Huntington Beach. And I remember seeing some starfish, and they were quivering like they were dying, just shrinking up, and they were actually moving and quivering. And I'm like, oh, fuck, look at this. What is the matter with them? Like they were having seizures. And I'm like, whoa. And now there's other people that say they saw the same thing in 2012. But that makes sense. The radiation poisoning to me, they're sponges, for God's sakes.
Yeah, starfish uses salt water like we do blood. And so they circulate all this water, interior and exterior, obvious. And that's, I was traveling with a group of divers a few years ago up in the Haida, Queen Charlotte Islands by Alaska. And they were freaked out because the arms were coming off all the starfish when they were on the floor. And the arms were just wiggling. I mean, they were freaked. They had all kinds of masks.
I mean, they're dying, you know, and that's what a starfish is. It's a sponge, like you said. The salt water is their blood.
That's right, yeah.
You know, and so, you know, and by the way, a lot of people don't realize how similar a starfish is to a humpback whale. Humpback whale's the same thing. You know how much freaking photoplankton a humpback whale goes through a day? You know, and it's their lifeblood.
It's absurd.
It's unbelievable. And so they're both enumerated, and they're both starving to death, and they're both dying because they have no food. The photoplankton, Fukushima broke the chain. It killed the photoplankton, which is so obvious to me. Is heat, I mean, the staff of life, all humanity, the fundamental foundation of all life, we all went to biology class when we were kids, is the photoplankton in the Pacific Ocean. It's photosynthesis.
Well, the phytoplankton lives at the surface, folks. And so the radiation has to hit them first to get into the ocean any deeper. Go ahead, Kevin.
That's why the starfish are the canary in the upper California prairie, because the photoplankton lives at the freaking top layer. And that's why the whales, when we get to see them going up and down. That's why.
The whales are dying of leukemia. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, of course. And dying of leukemia and starvation. And by the way, I know, as I got down to 119, starvation and leukemia, we look exactly alike.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, you look at somebody who's got leukemia and somebody starving to death, we're twinners.
Yeah, no. Well, your body can't take up nutrition anymore because it's flooded with white blood cells attacking the radiation. And so that's true for all the species, not just humans. Go ahead, Kevin, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm here at Hippie Crypt Park. You know, they're doing angry yoga. Take me down this way, Peter. Yeah, so, you know, Southern Cal, you know, Northern Cal ain't much different. You know, I find some at Lover's Point, which is odd here, but the whole peninsula, Brian, you know, and you think about that playlist I have. I don't think people have any clue what historic footage I have. Hundreds of hours of it at incredible low tides up and down this entire coast. It's such historical footage, and I put so much work into it and so much time. You know, I don't want to be in PB in July. I know better than be here in July. I grew up here. It's a tourist hellhole nightmare. Rooms are $300-400 a night. You know, the beach is so packed with hippie crypt freaks, you drive you nuts. You know, I'm trying to sleep on the beach last night. You know, people drunk, partying. You know, I know better, but I knew I've got to get this done on this tide. I told Peter, I don't come to PB in July. I know better.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, but I got to do the work.
It's a full moon. Now's the time to do it. There's this is the best time imaginable. And
yes.
your videos are, and...
That's a good video today. I looked at it and I'm like, I told Peter, even though I'm up or whatever, it tells the tale.
Kevin...
I was very happy with it.
Let me remind you, try to take a lot of pictures just for empirical evidence, right? Because your camera can take an amazing picture these days. So try to take 100 pictures each day if you can. And
I do, and I have lots of them.
Okay, just the same.
You know, I've got to get a place to put them. You know,
sure.
And so I'll post them. You know, Apple's got me. You know, a lot of people don't know this, but Apple banned me. Daily Motion took down my entire library. Facebook's got me on probation. Freaking Twitter's got me on probation. YouTube's got me on probation. For what? Because I say the word Fukushima.
I mean, like...
Yeah, Fukushima's hate speech. What are you talking about? I mean, it's the opposite of hate speech. I love Mother Earth. I'm the opposite of hate. I'm all about love. I'm fighting for her. Fighting for people that don't even... Like today, this morning, I sleep on the beach. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning because I want to see the low tide. You know, with hardly no sleep. I got no place to plug in. I'm looking all over the laundromat. Well, I know the guy that runs the laundromat here at Turquoise. So I go over there, and he's not there, and I plug in, and the guy comes out and tries to fight me, the manager.
Wow.
And tells me I'm stealing his electricity. I says, I'll give you $1 for... And physically got stupid with me.
Wow.
I'm like, well, there's the thanks I get. I'm 63 years old. I've got cancer. I have a replaced orc valve. I'm doing this dirty work, and that's how people are dicks.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's a terrible thing.
That's what we're up against. You know, people don't realize what I do. I mean, when I don't have a room and I'm sleeping in a sleep bag on the beach, whatever, I got to charge my device. Well, where are you going to do that? Yeah, good luck. So I spent most of my day earlier today in the freaking public library here, which talk about a cycle. There's 3 cops in there. Every lunatic mentally ill freaking California's in there. So, I mean, it's not easy. I just want people to know what I do is not easy. It's tough.
There's nobody else doing it on top of that.
And lucky I got Peter, because you don't just get in a bus and go to freaking Point Loma. It's a long ways out there. You know, Peter's been giving my ass around. Thank God for him. You know, thank God we got San Diego Pete. Without him, I wouldn't be able to get it done. You know,
Yeah.
He had to take off work early today to get me out there in time. So he sacrificed, you know, several hours of his job. And he's got an important job done. And he says, I knew how important this is. Well, so I took off early to get you out there.
You can...
people don't realize all this planning and all this work that goes into these low
it's mad. And I used to go on the ocean for 3, 4, 5 months at a time, just because it was so difficult to do it any other way. It was bring everything with you, Because if you didn't do that, you couldn't freaking do it, right?
Now you think about that. You give up your entire life for this, and how hard it is out there. It's harsh on this fucking ocean. Yeah, my lips are already freaking chapped
and
out.
there's nothing to
It's
see.
a harsh environment.
It's totally naked. There's no colors. It's very depressing when you're actually doing it, right?
Yeah, especially a person like me who's been on the ocean my whole life as an environmentalist who loves the environment. It's actually heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
I'll tell you what's the heartbreaking part, that no one gives a fuck. And they treat us like dog shit when we're doing the most important work on the planet, fighting for Mother Earth, and we're treated like we're some kind of criminals.
You should get a book done and get it out there as quick as you can.
You know what Colette says? You know what Colette says about my book? She says if Kevin Blanche wrote a book, it'd be 10 feet thick. Everybody tells me that. Everybody's been telling me that since I was a kid. You know, I will someday.
If you can get a 300-page book out there, that's a start, right?
Well, my YouTube videos are literature. I mean, it says publish, and I know
it is.
Everybody tells me that, but I've been so busy. I mean, look how I go getting this. This is important. I haven't had time to do that, or the resources.
I'm just.
Look, I've been clinging to life.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
People don't realize I've been sick. You know, I mean, I have AML leukemia. Not to mention, I had a replaced organ valve 5 years ago. My gallbladder ruptured. I had all my teeth pulled last month.
Yeah, I remember that.
I'm the healthiest critter.
It's terrible.
You know, I've been fighting to stay alive.
Well, you've been doing this since you were a kid too, right?
Since I was a little kid, my whole life.
And you paid a horrible price. So, Kevin, what's your plan tomorrow for everybody?
So tomorrow the same thing. So, but I'm going to hit these typos here in PB. I'm going to hit PB Point. I'm going to hit the lower Crystal Pier, and we're going to get low tide. Tomorrow's going to be about 45 minutes later.
3:30.
I won't have to get clear out there. So I'm going to get PB Point. I'm going to get the Crystal Pier. Was the last time I found it. I was there this morning at 4 o'clock, but it was too dark to see.
I seen that video. I'm going
to get those two done tomorrow afternoon. And so I'll sleep on the beach and do my thing. You know, we had a beer. You know, I'm good. I'm all good. I'm good.
Yeah, well, like as long as if you can get another couple of days, then that'll be huge.
I will. You know me. If the moon's there, you know what? I do the work. I'll get it done, and then I'll move up to La Jolla and Scripps, and I'll get that the next day.
Were you seeing many shellfish at all?
Fucking none.
Yeah.
You remember? I don't know if you remember that video. I got way out. People pointing the outer pipe a long time ago, and I was so far out there, even the lifeguards said I'd never seen it that low in my life, and I've been here for 70 years. And I found those two giant lobsters so far. That's the only two I've seen.
Wow.
And I know how to spot a lobster. And I watch them. We're famous here, and we're also famous for our octopus here.
That's right,
you know, once in a while, somebody will pull a rock up, and
the giant Pacific octopus, yeah.
Well, this morning I'm out there at PB Point, and there's a poacher out there. He's got his light on, of course. You know how those guys are. And I'm like, dude, you know, and he's pulling rocks, whatever. And, you know, once in a while, these guys will pull out a little 10-inch octopus and all done. Oh, fuck, these things should be 2-3 feet in diameter. We're famous.
They actually get up to 150 pounds and 15 feet.
You know, they have multiple brains and multiple parts. They're the most amazing creature ever. And when those things are disappearing, we're famous for them here in TV. I mean, that's the logo here is the octopus. I don't find any. Yeah.
Okay, so
we were out there with the poacher, and we didn't find shit. He didn't find nothing. He had his light on, and this guy is an expert on poaching octopus. I talked to him. I've seen him out there before, and he's a dumbass. But I was out there with him with his. I don't like to use an artificial light because I think I won't do it. I refuse to do it because, number one, it's illegal. Of course, they don't enforce fucking laws here, you know, and so it's illegal, and it's cruel to the animal. If there's something alive, I'm not going to torture an octopus with a hot light. That's what I told him. I think it's chicken shit. Number one, it's illegal. But they don't give a fuck.
What I was doing up north, I was using a really bright light going along the shoreline looking for animals' eyes. But also years ago, I would take the searchlight on the boat, and this was pre-Fukushima, and you would shine the searchlight on the land to see if you were dragging anchor. And at low tide, you would get just millions of little eyes, like the little crabs and everything on the beaches. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're like, whoa, what is that?
It was amazing.
Half of you didn't even know what the fuck it was.
But when I went up over the last decade for 6 years in a row, I never seen a single time did I see a single eye on the shorelines.
I've been on this ocean for 62 years right here, and nobody knows the California coast like I do, just because I've walked it coast. I mean, I've literally walked this whole coast, literally the coast, walked it so many times. I know every square inch of it. And like you said, what it was pre-Fukushima and what it is, if you were have the knowledge in my head, what I know it was and what it is, it's beyond heartbreaking. It makes you cry.
It's like being on an alien planet all of a sudden. There's nothing...
You can't believe it. You're like, you know, we knew things were in trouble for Fukushima. You know, we had different issues, but not like this. Not an acute collapse like this. You know,
this is a...
These starving wells. Remember when all the sea lions and seals were coming out? I was right here, and a seal, I was walking, I was really sick, I didn't have a camera, and a seal come up and was chomped on my ass and was literally trying to eat rocks. Remember when they were all dying in 2014?
That's right, yeah.
We forget about that, and then 65% of them tested for leukemia. We were just talking, I was standing right here where I'm at now, Phoebe, in 2011 when they first caught the tuna and tested for cesium-137 in the tuna in 2011. And we're all down here with such a big issue. Well, here we go. Cesium-137 half-life 2.5 years only comes from nuclear meltdown, so we knew it was Fukushima. Right here in San Diego. And we all forget that shit.
I'll remind people that you can't have a collapse of the tide zones without a collapse of the ocean.
That's it. They're the canary.
Yeah.
So here's the thing I always tell. I just told the guy this today. Just remember this. This is January 20th, 22nd, 2022. The Northern Fishing Alliance in Alaska, or excuse me, in Japan, 150 freaking kilometers off the coast, caught a batch of rockfish and decided to test it, because Japan doesn't test it. Tested for 150 becquerels of cesium-137 per kilogram. That's 100 times over the raised legal limits, and the cesium-137 half-life is 2.5 years. So, hello, if you think this is over, hello, just look it up. You'll find it. It's out there.
It's the end of the oceans, yeah.
It's the genocide of the ocean, and it's not going to happen. It's already happened.
Yeah, that's right.
Look at this well starvation event that went on in 2017, 18, which I predicted all that. You know, we documented my group. I got 11 starving wells in 3 months.
I got 8 starving whales in the last 3 or 4 days. All of them were humpbacks all over the place.
Well, here you go.
Including Iceland.
Humpbacks are plankton feeders. People don't get that. You know, it's like the salmon. Talking to a guy about the steelhead. This is a guy who knows his shit today. I says, steelhead are not trout, they're salmon. Trout or salmon, they live in the ocean.
That's right.
God, I can't believe I didn't know that. And I said, they go to sea, they're called half-pounders the first year. They go to sea 1 to 2 years. They started to collapse in 2012. The Chinook, on average, go to sea for 5 years. They didn't collapse till 2016. The empirical data is right there under your nose, but nobody wants to freaking acknowledge this. Which blows my mind that we're going to stay in Fukushima denial after all this year and all this evidence. You know, when we know they're meltdowns, now by the way, I don't know if you saw the article today that the court ruled against the Japanese executives.
$96 billion.
Oh, okay. What a fraud that is. So throw that, it was the executives' fault. It wasn't the nuclear industry's fault for building a reactor on the Ring of Fire. Yeah, these executives could have stopped it.
And they don't have $96 billion.
Yeah, right. What a sham. And by the way, they've reversed, and they're going to bail out Diablo, it looks like, Canyon. That was announced today.
I seen that, yeah.
Fuckers. Feinstein reversed. Gavin reversed. All these turncoats. I can't believe it. So, by the way, so you know, all your viewers, anybody that's in California, The first public hearing by the NRC in 5 years is January 21st in San Luis Obispo. And you have legally, you can show up, put your name on, you got 3 minutes like I do. That's July 21st in San Luis Obispo on Diablo Canyon. So any of you activists that are out there, get there, I'll go, and get your piece. And you have to have your name on the list, and you have to have a clock, and you get 3 minutes, and you see how I go. I practice that. And your saying goes into the public domain, but that's the first public hearing they've had in 5 years. 6 years, actually.
So what's the date?
July 21st.
So it's coming at us full steam ahead.
Yep.
8 days time. So
yeah, well, we have people in that region that live there.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't have to be no guru. Just get up and say, you know, we're spending
there is a lot of
$2.4
activists for that place, yeah.
You know, Mothers for Peace will be there. Jane and Linda, who are the best, but they don't have any money.
No.
They'll show up and they'll say, and they're awesome, but they don't have any more Friends of the Earth, Greenpeace, Sierra Club. They have them, and they're turncoats. They're turncoats.
They're the controlled opposition, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and so they have all the money, and we have nothing. But at least we could go voice our opinion and put it. And by the way, by law, that in California we have laws here that are different than New Mexico. They have to give you 3 minutes, and they have to put it into the public domain because we have those laws that exist in California. Unlike in New Mexico, and that was great. She got up there the other day and said her piece, and that woman jumped down her throat. Let them try that in California. They'll lock her up. We have the right, full 100 by California law. So anybody who shows up, you have the legal right, put your name on the list, and get up and say whatever the hell you want. You have 3 minutes right to their face. And that's California state law. So don't hesitate, don't be nervous about it because it's your legal right.
Yeah,
and responsibility.
It's an obligation too, right? You're obligated if you're an activist to do that.
If you live in the Central Valley. You're an LAer, you know, don't want to live like a Fukushima
because the pro-nuclear is going to fill up the auditorium.
I took that right before you picked me up. Yeah, so...
Okay.
All right, Dana, I'm going to go.
Yeah, we'll let you go, Kevin, and
call me tomorrow.
We'll call you tomorrow, get an update.
And I'll have even better videos tomorrow because I'll get into these better pools. San Diego Pete says hi.
Yeah, hi, Pete. Nice to hear you. Thanks for helping, Kevin.
Hi, Pete.
Okay,
Good,
Kevin.
thanks.
God bless you, my friend. Have a great
All
night.
Right, thanks, Dana.
We'll
right
see you
on,
soon.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome now. Bye-bye.
Love everybody. All you anti-nukers. Stay strong.
Yeah, they're all saying hi, Kevin. Thank you. That was Kevin Blanche. Kevin Blanche has been a nuclear activist. His dad was too. And so Kevin's been at it since he was old enough to be carried around. And he never, ever stopped. His entire life, he's always found time. And so there's nothing on the beaches, he's saying. It's zero. We showed the videos earlier of the coastline. And if he doesn't go down and document it, as far as I know, nobody's going to do it, right? So it's super important that he keeps going. And this is the biggest moon of the year right now. And so this is prime time. And it's clear by what we're seeing from his videos on his YouTube channel currently, that I played a lot of them earlier. And like if you were shipwrecked on that beach, you would actually starve to death. Okay, let's keep going. Got a little break on the throat there. Let Kevin go. And Kevin went strong for half an hour, so that was awesome. Let's get her going again. Nuclear would do little to solve the gas issues. Too little, too late, and it doesn't have the attributes that the industry is claiming at all. Like, I would love to do something else, really, it would, right? But how can I justify not talking about the nuclear industry. I can't justify not covering that topic, right? That is the most important topic, period. There is nothing more important than the nuclear industry because, first of all nuclear power plants each reactor has 2 fuel pools with decades of reactor cores that are still splitting the atoms, no containment, that's released into the environment. I got to do an entire show just on the fuel pools to help articulate the horror of the 1,000+ fuel pools worldwide splitting the atoms. So you can put 2 million atoms on the head of a needle, but you can't see it. But each atom distributed out can make people sick in increments over time. Because their body attacks it for the rest of their life with white blood cells trying to build a tumor around it. It could take a couple of decades, but eventually builds a tumor around that single atom. And you put 2 million of them on the head of a needle, but you can't see it. So how many atoms does it take to boil enough water to power 1 million homes each day? So when they take that reactor core out, it's still producing those same amount of atoms. It's an absurd number. And they're released each day into the environment to pulse energy every second at the speed of light worldwide. From 1,000 pools all day long, hemorrhaging. Each pool is hemorrhaging trillions of atoms into the environment each day. It's a genocide machine. It's a guaranteed extermination machine. You don't need a nuclear accident. You just need nuclear fuel pools with no containments to eventually exterminate the planet. But the meltdowns, the dumping, the unmitigated releases into the environment have accelerated it. And now we're Earth's last stand. Think about this disgusting headline there. Could the Ukraine crisis herald a rebirth for nuclear power? And we've seen this since about 2 weeks after Russia invaded Ukraine, right? Because they originally went in Chernobyl. The whole world was like, what the hell is Chernobyl? And then the nuclear industry came out with a huge public relations sustained campaign that's still ongoing, where they promote nuclear as carbon-free and blah, 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 to downplay and to misrepresent all the evils of the industry. It's a very effective thing they've done. It's very monolithic. You have world media participating in the deception. You have all your universities who were captured by this industry in increments over decades. All the regulatory agencies have been created by the captured industry. Claiming the Ukraine crisis, and every time I hear the word zero carbon targets, I want to take a 9-pound maul to somebody's fucking head in the nuclear industry. Excuse the language. Or not. I couldn't give a fuck if you do or not. Because I'm pissed off that the world doesn't fight back. I don't understand it. Quick alternative to fossil fuel. There's nothing quick about nuclear. There's nothing quick. Looking for a quick alternative to fossil fuel. Does this mean a rebirth for nuclear power is on the cards? Because most people they're not very good at rationalizing propaganda. They're not very good at understanding what propaganda is. If you want to understand propaganda, you just read the nuclear cycle every 24 hours. Within 2 weeks, you're going to be just as angry as me and the people that know the difference. Could nuclear power have a role in fighting climate change? This is an absurd suggestion, of course. But nuclear power, nuclear emissions are climate change. This model here, I had my volume up a little bit high, did I? My apologies. This is France's model of radioactive fallout. Gas, carbon, and coal emissions don't cover the planet in plumes. That model is only 16 days, by the way. The radioactive fallout is forever. The plumes are still covering out of Japan. The nuclear industry doesn't have a single person, not one, not a single person in the nuclear industry that you can say they're pretty good person. There's nobody in the nuclear industry that is likable. They don't have anybody in the nuclear industry that people can relate to. Because it attracts only degenerates and scumbags. Where was I? Right there, yeah. Green nuclear power, Iraq, I can't even pronounce it. So when you hear the word green nuclear power, it infuriates me that anybody would suggest that nuclear power has any green attributes whatsoever. And so when they put green nuclear power there, just want to jump on her and kick the shit out of her. Because it's not a her, it's a monster. And then they show £1 million of precious metals from the nuclear industry. It has zero green. No one is building a new Chernobyl. Instead, generation reactors are well underway, which will recycle nuclear waste. Recycle nuclear waste is called mixed oxide fuel. So using green nuclear and then immediately talking about mixed oxide fuel, which is illegal in the United States and Canada because it's not green. It can never be green. It's the definition of evil. So mixed oxide fuel is where you take missiles and old fuel and used fuel and reclaim the hot particles and put it back in a reactor because they can't dispose of it. So they put it in a reactor and a lot of it's released into the environment. So when they take it out of the reactor and put it in the fuel pool, they actually don't have a system that's appropriate for mixed oxide fuel. It boils water at an absurd amount in the fuel pools because it's still splitting the atoms, and that's released into the environment. So a typical nuclear reactor core, when it comes out, goes into the fuel pool, those atoms are considered 1 billion times more toxic than industrial poison. Mixed oxide fuel is considered 1 billion times more toxic than industrial poison, the radioactive emissions from the fuel pools. It's time to end this planet-killing tech. There's a proper name, I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's a Trojan horse that'll destroy all life eventually, just from the emissions. So why is it nuclear power has been labeled so negatively for so many years? Certainly not because all the media doesn't. The media hasn't been doing it. The media has been promoting it. But the world is not stupid, see? We still get in the planes and we still get into a car. So whoever wrote that deserves to be slapped at least 50 times every day. So you get in the plane, fly somewhere, and the plane stops, you get off it. You get in the car, it's the same thing. Car stops, you get out of it. Radiation gets in your body attacks it every second of your life for the rest of your life with white blood cells. And eventually, which compromises your immune system, makes you, and the animals and birds and insects and everything else, and it makes you more susceptible to pathogens and viruses that were normally harmless and benign and innocuous. To conflate it with airplanes and getting into a car, is the ultimate insult. That's the ultimate insult to any human out there when someone does that. The whole article is so disgusting, it's very difficult to read it because it enrages me. Why are we so scared of nuclear power? Gee, I don't know. Cold oil, this is a 16-day radioactive fallout emission, you piece of shit. You disgusting parasite who wrote the article. This is just 16 days of radioactive fallout. Coal, oil, and gas doesn't do that. That fucking plume is pulsing energy at the speed of light almost. Every second for millions of years. Can't see it or smell it or taste it or hear it or feel it or touch it, pick it up or anything else. You can't perceive it. To pretend that it's equal to getting on an airplane or getting into a car. Because I can't say what I want to do to people like that. It's illegal to say it, even though it shouldn't be, right? If this was Ted Bundy, I can say it. If this was Charles Manson, I can say it. But because they work for a newspaper, I can't say it. I shouldn't say it, I should say. But it's the people that write the articles like that, these should be arrested for writing that article. They should get 50 years in jail for writing that kind of an article. That's how deceptive and deceitful and dishonest and disingenuous the article actually is. Speaking of scumbags, Durham, Canada's premier nuclear jurisdiction. And CAO Elaine Baxter says the Durham region, Ontario, Canada, is uniquely positioned as a centre for nuclear expertise. You can tell that she has no concept of what it's like to be a human. She has no attributes of a human whatsoever. And let me explain to you. Canada, this same bunch that I just showed you from the nuclear industry, lifted all restrictions on the entire country of Japan after 93 days. 55 countries banned the food for over a decade. The food was banned in 14 prefectures, not just Fukushima. Canada, the nuclear industry, Canada, who has destroyed the country from the inside. See, it wasn't just Fukushima prefecture, it was 14 prefectures where the food was banned. Canada lifted all restrictions. But wait, it's worse than that. Truly terrible people is the only way you can describe the nuclear industry. Just calling them terrible people is because you can't call them fucking scum that they are. They're not people. I don't understand why they hate everybody and all the species so much. I don't understand why they're so evil, why they're so desperate to poison everybody. What's in it for them? Why be so evil? It's because the industry refuses to acknowledge publicly that radiation has issues, right? Despite the evidence is it's an absurd amount of documentation, overwhelming amount of documentation, trying to warn you. I can't find the rest of it. In the 70s, Ontario had a major nuclear accident. And even then, they would only, whenever they have an accident, they typically only acknowledge tritium. If it's really big, they'll acknowledge iodine and cesium, but nothing else. So Canada raised the limits of acceptable tritium. You can't have tritium without uranium, plutonium, americium, neptunium, strontium, and 1,000 other fission products in the same samples. Canada raised the limit of tritium 3H because natural tritium is extremely rare. Tritium 3H is not because it's released from all nuclear sites constantly. And it's a very dangerous isotope on top of that. They raised the limit to 44,000 atoms, atomic decays I should say, per liter of drinking water. California's limit is 15, not 1,000, but 15. And the Durham region promoting nuclear, you fucking scumbags. You fucking scumbag bitch. Incredible witch, eh? Poison everybody so she can have her diamond necklace and her cocktail parties. More than 30% of Ontario's electricity, dirty electricity, and he poisoned everybody because the fuel pools are hemorrhaging radiation into the communities constantly, into the cities. Durham region nuclear energy is a vital part of our genocide and omnicide industry. Since the region's creation in 1974, we've been proud to poison all Canadians with nuclear fallout. I can't read that article because I'm pissed off. When I get pissed off at this industry, I'm better off not doing the show because I get pretty honest about my feelings. And there's a good story, Canadian, surprisingly. These are students that are traveling to Vienna for an anti-weapons conference, anti-nuclear weapons. So the anti-nuclear weapons is trying to distract you from the nuclear fuel pools hemorrhaging. I got to come up with a better word because hemorrhaging doesn't really quantify the seriousness of the trouble we're in. How's that? Let me change subjects for a second. How's the poll doing? We got 42 votes. Somebody actually said it was safe to live within 10 miles of a despicable, disgusting, vicious, hateful nuclear power plant. It takes all kinds, I suppose. But these students were down to participate. Two River East College alumni recently traveled to Vienna as part of their ongoing work towards nuclear disarmament. Canada doesn't have nuclear weapons, but Canada has nuclear weapons belonging to America. But we don't build our own, apparently. We provide the material to the Americans so they can build them. That's one of the things they were doing at Chalk River in Canada, right? The Rotary Club of Winnipeg sponsored the cost of the trip to go down to the nuclear disarmament. It warms the soul, don't it? Oh yeah, so the Scots were warned to stay out of the waters of the Torness substation. Now they claimed there was an oil leak. But you can't believe a single word from the nuclear industry. Not a single word. You can't. You're literally stupid and you're extremely gullible if you believe a single word from the nuclear industry. Like the spokespeople for the nuclear industry, they're the Ted Bundys of your community. They're the John Wayne Gacy's of your community. They're the Mao and Pol Pots of your communities, of your countries. They get the job because they have no conscience. They have zero moral high ground, period. The only way you can be a spokesperson for the nuclear industry, like Megat Gunnarsson, Arnie Gunnarsson's wife, She was a spokesperson for 2 decades. High level. You really think she's not a monster? From a substation at the Torness Nuclear Power Station, Scotland, is it, I guess, has led to people being warned to avoid nearby waters. Scottish families were warned. They claimed there was an oil leak. Again, you'd have to err on the side of caution and assume it's a radiation leak disguised as an oil leak. If you don't, then you're making a real mistake. You can trust zero that the nuclear industry tells you. Absolutely zero. If they tell you one thing, you need to look for the stuff that you should be looking for. You can't, under any circumstances, trust a sentence that they say. You simply, it should be a crime to trust anything they say. So how did we do last night on our video? After 12 hours, they extend my videos. So last night was 158, 1 hour, 58 and 10 seconds. Let's check and see what it is tonight. Wow, it's 11 seconds longer tonight. So 12 hours later, exactly 12 hours after my video is finished, my videos get longer. 12 hours exactly, every video. They're putting something in my video, right? Or, you know what I'm saying? Or they're editing something out and putting something else in there. Fukushima nuclear disaster ex-bosses of owner Tepco ordered to pay 13 trillion yen. This is 4 people. They don't have 13 trillion yen, which is about $96 billion. It was 7 years before anybody can go back in there. But they were inside the nuclear meltdowns working like little slaves, were they? That's the official story. But they couldn't go back in here for 7 years. But they want you to believe they were in a nuclear meltdown in 2013 working on reactor 4. So they ordered them to pay 80 billion pounds, euros in damages, 96 billion US dollars, a trillion Canadian, I guess. That's a joke, of course. To prevent a triple meltdown, it was 4 meltdowns, not a triple meltdown, and 8 fuel pools melted down. We suspect reactor 6 melted down. Due to new evidence that came out in January last year, and 100% the common spent fuel pool melted down. And this is pure uranium, pure plutonium, unlike Chernobyl, which was mostly graphite. It's still brutal, don't get me wrong, but it ain't no Fukushima. But it's brutal what happened to Chernobyl. Changed the sex ratio of males and females throughout all of Europe. They actually admit that much. Triple nuclear power plant meltdown. Go ahead and try to find those words in a sentence from the media. It won't happen. They'll call it triple meltdown. They're extremely disciplined in the way they present their narratives. 5 defendants ordered to pay the sum. They don't have that kind of money. And they're supposed to pay it to Tepco. It was filed in 2012 by 48 Tepco shareholders. They actually wanted 22 trillion yen, which was almost $200 billion, basically, US. So, like, they'll take all their assets, but it's not is not going to be $1 billion, let alone $96 billion. It's passing the buck somewhere else. It's like Kevin Blanchett said earlier, the fault lies in the nuclear industry, building it in the ring of fire, building it where they have tsunamis at 700 kilometers an hour regularly throughout history, building it where they have 1,000 fairly large earthquakes each year, building it on a foundation that wasn't stable. So the engineers should be part of that in the first place, who designed it. The executives found liable are unlikely to have the capacity to pay the full amount. Unlikely. They're probably worth about $30 million altogether. But they owe $96 billion. Media is just a disgusting parasite, isn't it? Media is extremely good at one thing, being a parasite. Yeah, good night, catch ya. Well, we're almost through it, so. Japan holds utility executives liable instead of the nuclear industry. This one was $94 billion American. And you got to give the money to Tepco. Oh, Mari Yamaguchi. I don't understand why she's not in jail for the rest of her life with the stories she's put out. What a stupid world that they managed to create. $94 billion to Tepco. And the majority of the stories would say to the company, but not to Tepco. That's who they're talking about, though. That was really interesting, too. That's not an accident. Operators, ex-boss is ordered to pay $95 billion. None of them can agree on the money, can they? $97 billion. So you got everywhere from 95 to $97 billion. $94 billion. $97 billion. $95 billion. $95 billion. And this one shows you the Donny plant is not even Fukushima, for God's sakes. It's a twin. This is Michael Schellenberg. Now, he's a nuclear lobbyist. And, my God, I can't even remember the name of his despicable company off the top of my head. Let me see here. Michael Schellenberg. Every time I hear that name, man, that is a disgusting parasite right there. That is a despicable parasite, that creature is. He's a professional lawyer. He's a pro-nuclear lobbyist, but his tactics are truly disgusting. And he's been recognized as that. The majority of media won't touch him because he's such a despicable sack of shit. Needed nuclear option for climate change. Again, anybody who suggests that Germany's decision to restart old coal plants rather than extend the life of its nuclear reflects a failure of environmental priorities. Coal's awesome. Just don't put it in your community. The emissions on it go around 50 miles. Coal's fine. See, throughout history, coal has been fires burning on this planet from lightning strikes. It's completely harmless unless you put it in your city. So if a coal plant breaks down, or the entire life cycle of coal, don't cause emissions like that. Those emissions are caused by radioactive fallout. That's caused by radioactive fallout. That's just 16 days. Coal, oil, and gas emissions don't travel like that, see? Coal, oil, and gas emissions maybe travel 50 miles. On a windy day, maybe 100. It's spread out and it just dissipates. It's just coal emissions. They're harmless. But radiation emissions, it attacks everything that has replicating cells. And so it attacks every species and every form of life on the planet that has no autoimmune trigger to help defend against it. Why nuclear is no answer to short-term dilemmas or long-term. It's no answer at all. Scientists warn nuclear war could trigger mass ocean die-off and an ice age. This was a single paper. I should put that in my pile with those other pieces of shit that we use. Right, like Miles Allen, James Hansen, and that, who've done a single paper. And that stuff is used to bludgeon everybody with now for decades. And I showed all the pictures earlier of the before and after in the ocean. That was from my research expeditions. And the ocean's been exterminated, except for the larger species. They're showing up emaciated everywhere. It won't be long before they're exterminated. So when you see these types of stories, the radioactive fallout doesn't cause a cold planet, it heats the planet up. Climate change is the nuclear legacy. I just despise these people. They're showing you Castle Bravo. That was actually equal to 1,000 Hiroshimas going off at one time. So that's equal to a nuclear war. That is a nuclear war. If you fire 500 nuclear bombs at each other, that's a nuclear war, right? Well, that's what that is. That's a nuclear war. It's 1,000 Hiroshima going off at one time. It's the same thing as a nuclear war. And the nuclear industry was the catalyst for the decline of the species on our planet. EDF is got to shut off more reactors because the rivers are so low. This was such a strange connotation. Decarbonizing energy is currently a choice between nuclear or rationing electricity. So nuclear is the only thing, is what they're saying, that can this was the EU, is the only thing they're claiming that can decarbon. And if you decarbonize the economy or the environment, you'll lose all the species, because you can't have species without carbon. Trying to blame, and nuclear kills everything that's carbon, right? So ETF streams Ecosystem Unwrapped 2022 event, BNP Paribas Wealth Management's Edmund Shing emphatically said nuclear may be Europe's only near-term option to decarbonize the energy. A conviction not shared in many countries across the continent. So that was an incredible betrayal to suggest that. It really is. The U.S. awarded Bechtel $3 billion to take over, a hostile takeover of the WIP nuclear wasteland, also known as the Waste Isolation Pilot Project. Not plant, but Its original name was Waste Isolation Pilot Project to see what happens. It was a pilot project. They got rid of the word project in the narrative and implemented the word plant. It's not a plant. And then they put all the waste, now it's a permanent repository that had a meltdown in 2014 that we covered. And they clipped out my video and actually put it on the mainstream news to vilify me and demonize me. Like the whole system has to be replaced. It's so corrupt, eh? Nuclear and chemicals are the top EU health threat. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Nuclear fallout is the EU top health threat. Because Chernobyl fallout hit Europe hard. They closed 9,000 farms in Ireland and Scotland, United Kingdom. When Chernobyl melted down 36 years ago, 400 are still closed today. Imagine closing 9,000 farms because of radioactive fallout in your country. It means you're supposed to evacuate your country. It also means your water's not safe. It also means nothing's safe because the radiation doesn't float around looking for farms. And then United Kingdom, this is disgusting. United Kingdom wants to do seismic testing in the Atlantic Ocean because they want to bury the nuclear waste under the ocean. And the reason they're going to want to do that because they know it's going to melt down at some point once they put it in a... Like these deep geological repositories, the problem is, yeah, it's going to isolate it for a while, but then it's going to melt down. Right? That's what's going to happen to it. And eventually water gets in there and that will cause enough steam pressure to crack the earth and it'll vent up forever. It'll actually start consuming the earth. It doesn't need oxygen for a chain reaction, see? And so the idea of putting it under the ocean is because they know it's going to melt down. And to me, that's the lowest form of life when the industry is trying to put nuclear waste under the ocean. Japan wanted to do it, right? Quite a few countries wants to do it. But that shows you that it's not supposed to exist on this planet. The fact that they want to do something like that. But that's scary that they want to do something like that. Because we got to think always about the future generations. Not that that's likely to happen anymore because of what Fukushima has got. Fukushima was the accelerant, was the catalyst for the end of humanity as we know it. Go solar, not nuclear. And unfortunately, that story, you got to be a subscriber. I didn't have time to do that so I can read the article. That's all good. It's all good until everything dies. I was out in the woods today. I couldn't find a single spider in the woods. And I'm supposed to... Yeah, let me see. Now, Colette left a message, want to know how much of the DCA she should take each day. And she, apparently, hopefully she got, by the sounds of it, she got the pure DCA. And so, it depends on the size of the bottle you got. It depends, like if you got cancer, you want to take a bigger dose, obviously, right? I'm taking 1 gram a day. And because I got a big mass of cancer in my kidney, and they want to take the kidney out at the beginning of next month in just a few weeks' time. I'm not I'm not letting anybody take my kidney out at this stage. And I'm taking 1 gram a day. Now, if I had the money, I'd take 3 grams a day or 4 grams a day. I don't have the money. And we blew everything, the pension, over the years on Fukushima research expeditions and everything else involved with this, and equipment, so I can come here every night and curb stomp the nuclear industry. But I didn't know when I had a kidney stone last month that they were going to tell me that, right? And so I won't, there's zero possibility that I'm going to do radiation or chemo. It's a zero possibility. And I'm supposed to go see the doctor at the end of this month to make up the plan of what he wants to take the kidney out. He says the kidney got to go. And it might have to take it all the way down to my bowels, right? And that's why I'm supposed to go and do a CAT scan. But I'm not, nobody's getting my kidney as far as I'm concerned. I'm just going to pound it with the DCA. And the studies, the original studies, including the human trials, showed it reduced all big tumors by 70% in the first 3 weeks. It's a miracle, right? And it eradicated the cancer after 3 months. We're only a couple of weeks into taking the DCA, right? That's not quick enough for the results to establish on the CAT scans, because I'm supposed to do the CAT scans basically in the next week or so. So those results are not going to show up that quick, see? And so I'm going to delay everything for at least another month and a half, 2 months. And I'm going to keep pounding the DCA into me. And then I'm going to go do the CAT scan and see what it says, right? And if there's still cancer left, I'll just keep treating it with DCA. But by rights, you want to do vitamin C. And like another important thing to remember about this is structured water. So structured water is just natural water that's running over the rocks like spring water. So it's running through the natural minerals. And there's 2 types of water. There's unstructured water and structured water. So when water has this really weird, unique... it exists. It's the only liquid that exists in 3 forms, right? Liquid, solid, and gas. But water, like a plant, a little seedling, can come up through pavement exerting over 300 atmospheric pressures in order to get into the sunlight by just using water. But if you grow plants with structured water, your plants mature 30% quicker, 30% more foliage, and 30% more fruit compared to unstructured water. Unstructured water is water that's been hit with electrical pulses from pumping it, and chemicals. The water will change the structure. As far as I know, don't quote me, but as far as I know, the quick and dirty way to get structured water is to freeze the water and then thaw the water out. That's structured water because it restructures itself, see? But there is equipment out there that you can buy that takes normal water and filters it and turns it back into structured water. Structured water is what your body is designed for. Your body doesn't work proper on chemical water or electrolysis in your water, see? Get back into it. Well, that's the show for tonight. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Let's check the poll before we close the poll down. We got 44 votes. 44 votes, or 44 thumbs up is more thumbs up, almost more thumbs up than I had in the last 24 hours on my other video from yesterday that we said was censored. We knew it was censored yesterday, right? There's also underneath my video, there's 2 ways people can donate to me. If you go underneath, right now we're currently at, or we're actually at this one right here. And if you scroll down in that video, you'll see 2 ways to donate to me. It is directly at my site, and you can donate at my site any of these ways below it. See all the different ways you can donate from different countries. You just put that card in at my site, and there's my PayPal. So there's a whole lot of ways anybody on the planet can donate to me. All you got to do is go over to my website, let the load up. Underneath the first, under the first picture, you'll see donate. Just click that and you can put the number in. If you keep scrolling down, those videos got removed by YouTube with my site last year. I kept them there. You can download these pictures of my research expedition, the before and after pictures. Make a little booklet and leave it on your table or leave it in the doctor's office or in the library or any kind of waiting rooms, or give it to dentists and people like that, engineers, and say, look what Fukushima done to the coastline. Just print it out and make little books about it. But like you say, directly under my first picture is a donate button. If you click on that, you can put almost any card in. Once you click on continue with your email, you can put in just about any card and donate. And if you don't donate, then who will donate is the big question. And for the last couple of years, we've been struggling to keep things moving forward. So don't forget to give us, we got 35 likes, which is as many likes as we got all in the last 24 hours. We got 51 thumbs up. We're going to end the poll. 98% said it's not safe to live and raise a family within 10 miles of a dirty disease factory known as a nuclear power plant. Because that's what a nuclear power plant is. They're disease factories, right? Well, you have to take my word for it because I provide the evidence. Let me do a shout out for everybody, I guess. Why not? We made it this far. So we had a great interview with Kevin earlier. We're going to get him again tomorrow night. Well, it's nighttime mine. It's around 6 p.m. his time, I guess, in California. Currently, the time here... the time here is currently 11:48 p.m. It's 12 minutes to midnight mine time. Yeah, 100 miles is as close as you want to live to a nuclear power plant or a nuclear waste site. Thinker, Richard, Sharon, Spalding, good night everybody. Timber Wolf, or Timber Traveler, Andrew B., Dana Nasana, John Shiflett, good night everybody. Thomas Metz, Patrick, who I think just had surgery, so we're glad to hear you're doing good, Patrick. Hi, Albert. I hope you're doing good. Chuck. The Invisible Rabbit. Have a great night, everybody. Victor, Danny, San. Hey, lots of commenters late tonight. Starlight. Good night, everybody. And Katja, which is, we shouted out earlier because I seen that she was leaving. James Lucid. Hi, James. Peaceware. Brian S. I really do like doing this show, dude. I gotta admit it. It's nice to say goodnight to everybody that happens to be in the comment section. Hi to everybody else that's out there. And if you're watching this later, hugs for you too. Sandra Churchill. I know Colette is out there somewhere. And we know Swanee D is going to be out there somewhere tomorrow. Obsolete Optics is out there somewhere tonight. Blue Jay. And who knows how many people I forget because I can't keep up with it. We haven't seen Stephen Young in the last couple of weeks. I hope he's doing good. Another Gmail. I'd be gone to war right now if I could afford it. I just can't afford it. WP. My apologies if I miss anybody. I always do. Thinker. Let me go back up to the most recent comments. Adam the Mushroom. See, I missed Adam. It's amazing that I miss anybody because I'm paying attention, but looks like I got everybody this time for a change. When I read the comments after, I'll probably find somebody I didn't get. Okay, let's call her a night. We got 47 thumbs up, which is more than we got in the last 24 hours on my video last night, which was a fantastic video. I can only do what I can do with what I got, and I'm doing the best I can, right? I'm under a lot of stress and a lot of pressure, and there's no one to replace me. I'm not bragging, I'm just saying, right? There's no one to replace me, and so I don't have a right not to do the things I'm doing. I have an obligation that I take extremely serious to do the things I'm doing. And so just doing this little educational program, calling a scumbag in the nuclear industry, at least it's something, right? So we appreciate everybody. God bless everybody. Hugs for everybody. See everybody tomorrow night. Last show of the week, day 5 of the week. I start on Sundays. And it was a great show tonight. We had a good interview with Kevin earlier. There's no species at all on the coastline, folks, which means the ocean is dead. Just think about that. Take care. Yeah. Good night, folks. Take care.